There are no rules but one. Drink Jägermeister at minus 18 degrees Celsius.
Collaborations are a significant part of your job and creative process, but also when working for DC and Marvel, it's continuity as well. And we had Marv Wolfman over you, and he spoke against continuity in some sense. And I'll paraphrase, like, writers today are slaves of continuity. And it's the same.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it the same situation with indie publishers or with Boom Comics and Image, or you have more creative freedom to yourself?
Well, first off, I don't agree with that. As a younger writer, I do not agree with that one bit. I can go into that as well. I mean, with Image and Boom, like everything I've done there, I've done from the ground up. So it's worlds that I'm building with my artists, and it's worlds that I control. So it's my way or the highway, essentially, or our way and the highway. It's not, it's between me and the artist to decide what we want the world to be, what we want the rules to be, how we want it to function. So there's never any of that problem. I mean, continuity is only a thing to me in terms of you don't want to sort of cheat and make the story that you're telling within itself feel like it doesn't make sense. That's the only time that's ever a problem. Other than that, I'd say throw everything to the wind. I have this like sort of way I think about continuity with the bigger. It's funny. I had a you mentioned Al Ewing. We had a long conversation about this in the pub like 2 weeks ago. But particularly at DC, where I've done most of the stuff I've done in continuity, my way of approaching it is that like the old comics that you're looking back on, those are like people's memories, rather than being like, this is everything that's set in stone. This is exactly what happened, exactly the way it happened. Because these contradictions always exist. You have these different, versions of events. You have these different sort of like retellings that have all happened through, different reboots, different relaunches. So I always want to be able to go to those wells in terms of there is a weight to having bad history behind you and these characters having like gone through certain things. But some of those stories are better than others. Some of them fit the character better than others. Sometimes people try things and they're more successful or less successful. And so I always want to be able to approach it that way, where it's like these are things that people are they sort of like remember and they're informing what's happening now, but you don't have to be beholden to every little second of everything that happened in those memories, because memories are fallible.
Yeah, but I mean, Marv was speaking in also in a way that it's complicated for new readers to start reading comics in some way, because maybe it's also a fault of comic book community, because when somebody asks you, should I read this comic? You say, but before you have to read this and this and this issue and this storyline for you to understand that. People are put off by that. And he said, every comic is someone's first comic. So, it has some sense from that perspective, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree with that more. So like, I definitely agree with that in terms of every comic is its own unit of storytelling, and it should be able to stand as that. So I don't know that you need to like. It's also, I'm also not saying I don't care about anything that came before, and we should abandon that all every issue one. Particularly working in those universes, the joy of a lot of it is the continuity and the sort of like things that came before. But we don't have to do it in a way where this book only makes sense, or like it only, one thing that will always bug me is when you get a cliffhanger where it's just like this character shows up and it's like, I am this person, and you're like, I don't know who you are. Like, this means nothing because there's no weight within the story itself. It has not been established like why this person matters, why this person carries weight. So everything within the story itself, as long as everything within the story itself carries weight, as long as it matters to what's happening on the page, then I don't think it should ever really be a problem. So maybe it's sometimes just down to how the storytelling itself is approached. And I think there are always ways around it. Because I also think, I mean, I do sometimes wonder if it's also a thing of that people are now getting very used to being able to consume something in its entirety.
We stay genuine, uncensored and unscripted, and we always will, as we have to order our usual. Share us and subscribe us, and stay tuned until the next Wednesday. Ikuzo!